Okay, now we've got the action step. And this is a step that enables your LLMs to take actions when your user requests it. So the example we're going to be looking at today is of the weather agent. This is one of the more simple examples I can think of that really demonstrates what actions are and how to use them to make your AI agents really, really powerful. So in this case, we have from top to bottom, we've got the start step. And then in between the start and the actual response step, we have a situation where we have inserted the action step. You can see here that we've got the title for the step, weather actions, clear, clear. And then similarly to the prompt, we have an AI provider. So you can select what AI provider you want to be reflecting on the conversation and determining whether or not the action should be taken. And then additionally, we have a set of actions that can be performed. And then under every action, there's a set of conversational requirements that will also need to be met in order to take this action. So going back to our example of this AI agent that allows you to check the weather, what we have here is that we have an action that's called weather, very simple. We have a condition that should be called if the user wants to check the weather for their city. And then in the conversational requirements, we have a conversational requirement that's titled location, and the description is the location they want to ask for the weather about. So all very, very simple. So now what happens is that this information will be used to reflect every time a new message comes in and see if this action should be performed. If this action is performed, then we divert for a second. We perform the action specified here in the get weather step, which is literally connected to the action from the side. So you just do it like so, connect like you're used to connecting nodes. It just comes out of the side when it's an action here. And then the final output for this last action here will be the output for the action step as a whole. So if this action is determined to be, that it needs to be taken, so it will go and it'll get the weather, and then that will be the output for this action step in its entirety. So if that action is not taken, if no actions are taken, the output for this step will just be empty. It will just be, an empty piece of text. Okay, great. Let's take a quick look at this prompt and then we can preview it to see how it all comes together. So in the prompt of the last step here, I have your helpful assistant who can tell the user about the weather in any city they specify. First, I have to tell you a location and ask for the weather. If they haven't done that, then give them the information. If they have done that, then give them the information that follows it, but reformat it in a way that's in a consistent, easy to understand format. And then I have just some big block letters, weather API response, and output. So I have connected this as an output to the weather action step, which means that, again, if the user requests weather, we're going to go hit this API, which will have extracted out from the conversation the location. And then in the actual API, in the API step, that conversational requirement is being referenced like this, right? So you can see in the URL, there is this and q equals conversation.location. These are variables that you're used to, but this is a conversational variable. So this information has been extracted out of the conversation as we specified in this action step previously. And you can get that just by typing @ and then that'll give you access to all the different data that's available in the conversation. Okay, great. Now we're going to preview the agent and see how it behaves so you can get a more intuitive understanding of how these actions work. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to say, hello, give it a situation which there is not an action the user wants to take. So what's going to happen here, it's going to go through the steps, then it's going to go straight to the response step and stream back to the user. In this case, it's going to say that, hey, I can go check the weather for you if you give me that, which is the TLDR of that message here. So I'm going to say, great. What's the weather in Minneapolis, please? I'm going to ask. It's going to go through the steps before, but this time it's going to assess that there is an action it should take. It should go get the weather, then it takes a location from the conversation, feeds it to the API, and then returns the output of that API in the prompt and then streams that all back to us. So great. So look at the output here. This is really cool. Certainly, here is the current weather information for Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA, et cetera, et cetera. And that's real. That is currently the temperature in that very, very unpleasantly cold place. So you can click on the output and see that it selected the weather action, and then you can click on the API and actually see the content of the JSON that it produced. Then obviously you could even go all the way down into the logs for the prompt step and see the system prompt that it generated the response with, and see the actual formatted message that it returned to the user and get all the additional statistics and cost calculation out of it as well. Important thing that I recommend you keep in mind is that these two steps are somewhat separated. So you always have to mention the actual available actions in the prompt. And you always have to mention that that action has already occurred and that it's ready to be delivered to the user. So you have to say that, okay, if this data is present, it means that you have taken an action, return the data to the user, blah, blah, blah.